Hello and welcome back. We are a special edition of the IDP Plus podcast. My name is Nate Cheat, and I'm here with wonderful co-hosts Johnny and Michael. How are you guys doing this football Sunday?
Great, man. Super Bowl Sunday. I can't wait. A lot on my
Yeah, no,
mind,
I
but
can't.
we're going to get these rankings first.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm so excited that I'm jumping in over Johnny. But yeah, no, I can't wait to see the Chiefs. The winning 31-10. By the time you come back, no, it's not going to happen. But either way, good to be here talking quarterbacks today. Gonna have a great one.
Great, great. Yep, we're going to go through our quarterback tiers. So we're going to do 36 quarterbacks in broken down in 12s. So we'll have your tier one, your QB1s, QB2s, QB3s. And that's what we're doing in this show. But let's get a little bit of understanding like who our hosts are, where you can find them. So, Michael, I'm going to actually start with you and just let everyone know, how they can follow you, how they can see your content.
Sure. So anyone that's been following me on Twitter at Michael__Skull, you can see it beneath my name here if you're watching on YouTube. You know that I run this IDP Plus newsletter. Comes out every single week, every single Wednesday, breaking down that defensive fantasy news that you need to know. And right now we're in that coaching cycle, so that really affects everyone on the team. So highlighting those, breaking down what that means for fantasy, so you can subscribe to that either via our website at idpguys.org, or you can follow it through the link in my bio, the link in our IDP Guys handles on Twitter bio. Plenty of ways to do it, but be sure to sign up for it.
Awesome. Johnny, where can they find you?
So I'm known as Johnny Freaking Fantasy. You can see my Twitter name at Johnny Freaking F1 below me. Hopefully, you've seen me before breaking down rankings here with the IDP Plus show. I got signed on in November. I've been with the team for a few months here, and I've been blessed. I've been on some podcasts with IDP Tipster, different analysts from IDP Guys, and now with Mike. Nice to have you back, Nate, as the host. So thank you very much. And I look forward to continuing breaking down these quarterback rankings coming up and continuing to make a presence. I've been blessed to be on many podcasts, and hopefully you continue to see my face and rock with me on Twitter. Find me at Johnny Freaking F1. I'll answer all your start sit questions and weekly waiver wire pickups. I'm here for it all. Also, I'm looking to see a lot of you hopefully coming soon.
There we go. Yeah. And before we get into these QB tiers, just make sure that you go to idpguys.org and become a subscriber. That's where you're going to have access to all of our premium articles, all of our rankings, all of our tools. And what I use while we break this down is our weekly fantasy finishes tool. And that's where it goes week by week and says by position, where they ranked. So, how often Lamar Jackson was QB1 or QB5, or it does look like he got down to QB28 in week 8. So, get in and become a subscriber. Right now, there is a special promo. If you use mock draft at checkout for a monthly subscription, you can get it for $1. So get in there, get access for $1 and check these things out. But let's get into the tiers here. And for our audio listeners, I'm going to run through the names on the screen here. At number 1, we got Josh Allen. Number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Jalen Hurts. 4 is CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, and Trevor Lawrence. So to kind of kick this off with the first question, Sokoli, you're new to this show. I'm going to give you the first crack here. But Patrick Mahomes had 2 top 5 finishes this year. Do the Chiefs need a new receiver for him to stay at number 2 in these rankings?
No. And I it's interesting because I think the popular opinion will be yes. And I think that's what we're going to see this offseason is everyone's going to be pounding the table and say, hey, they need to add a 1. They need to add another player. I don't think they're going to. And I think Rashee Rice is the reason why. I think they love what they've seen from him. This back half of 2023 has been sensational for him, which has continued into the playoffs to an extent. And I think Patrick Mahomes is still Patrick Mahomes. They've proven that if they build around him, they're going to be fine. Even if they don't give him the best weapons, he makes do of it, like Tom Brady did in New England. So with that in mind, it might not, maybe that does hurt his fantasy value to an extent, especially if Travis Kelce is on somewhat of a decline, as we saw this year. But Rashee Rice is a very good player, and that's someone that when we get to wide receiver tier rankings, that is someone that should be quite high. Patrick Mahomes is still going to be up here in these rankings just because he is Patrick Mahomes. He's capable of these great weeks and great seasons, but maybe we do see somewhat of a cap season, a cap ceiling, without that top tier Tyreek Hill type of weapon.
Gotcha. Okay, so to you, Johnny, looking back at Patrick Mahomes in 2022, he was the number one quarterback, finishing out that year. So maybe 2023 was just a down year for him. Do you think that if Travis Kelce retires, that it puts a little bit more pressure for him to stay in the top five here?
I think by default, sure. You're losing a great player in Travis Kelce, even though he's kind of had a down year by standard projections. But you know what? To me, I see how they throw the ball around. Even those backup tight ends, they're getting love, and I don't know if they're going to step up and be the next Travis Kelce. That's a lot to ask, but I do think that losing Tyreek Hill kind of hurt. Maybe if they still had him, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But yeah, I agree with Mike what he said, man. It doesn't really matter who is there. Patrick Mahomes is still doing it, even with Rashee Rice. It's nice to see a vote of confidence in him and the rookie. So I think really anybody that is here is maybe not Kadarius Toney, but many people who come in here can have solid fantasy value. And Patrick Mahomes, maybe that doesn't mean standalone. Like you don't have to start him, McCole Hardman. I don't know if he'll ever be the guy. Kadarius Toney, they have a lot of role players, but at the same time, he gets it done with whoever's there. So sorry, I got a phone call. I don't know if you heard that, but yeah, he gets it done with whoever's there. And to go back to the original question too, I just want to say, the Chiefs have been running the ball a little bit better than years past. Pacheco's been really good, and also to Patrick Mahomes, I'm kind of throwing this year away a little bit as far as how very we're saying down. It wasn't much down at all, right? But yeah, one of his worst years stat wise. But they also had problems with their offensive line. They had Jawan Taylor and Donovan Smith, who's been giving them problems. So that's been a factor too. No, I don't. I do see success. I think you could even argue for Patrick Mahomes to be number one. Losing Kelce isn't going to help that argument, but no, I'm fine with him being number two. Even if that's a risk we run.
He's just too good. It comes down to that of he's just too good of a player to not have every faith that he's going to be fine for fantasy because he's going to be the best quarterback in the league for the next decade.
Yeah. Well, okay, so and this one I'm going to go throw it to Johnny first, but starting the beginning of the season, Mahomes did lose to a team with a quarterback who ended up finishing the year number 7 QB in PPR above Patrick Mahomes. But Jared Goff, what's driving his value down? Number 7 this year, number 11 in 2022, not in the top 12 here. Johnny, what do you think? I'm just a homer, I know it, but
You know what? I think a lot of these guys, and we're talking, tier ones here. So that's no discredit to Jared Goff. Top 12 is great place to land. I think you could make an argument for that based on how good the year went for him and how good the team looks. It's not like they're losing a lot of guys. They're still young, so I think he's has a chance to repeat what he did this year come 2024. But when we look at this list, I mean we're paying a lot of respects to youth here, is what I noticed. I mean, we got guys like C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, even Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy. Those are younger guys. Herbert as well. And I'm not saying kick those guys off the list. I think they belong. They deserve to be there when we're looking at it, especially from a dynasty point of view. But to me, Dak Prescott, even on this list, he's proven rookie. He had a great year. Led the league in touchdowns. I want to say it was maybe last year. So although he did have a lot of interceptions too, but you can make a case to knock like an Anthony Richardson off to say like I haven't seen it yet from him, or Trevor Lawrence, he kind of regressed a little bit. Maybe you put Goff in front of him as a safer play, but they might not bring Calvin Ridley back there in Jacksonville. That might hurt Trevor Lawrence a little bit, but I know a lot of people are still high on him. Yeah, to me in this top 12, it's a very coveted land. I like Jared Goff, and the thing is, Nate, don't say Jared Goff's name yet because he's a guy that in the way I play, I'm not drafting like a CJ Stroud, a Jalen Hurts. I'm not paying that premium. I will wait till later rounds to pick a guy like Jared Goff. And boy, if you did that this year, like I did, it really paid off for you because he is somebody that, you don't have to pay that premium tag, but you get a great quarterback. You can get some top 12 numbers out of him. I'd be interested to see how many top 5 finishes he had this year. I think he had a couple great games, but yeah, I like him on the low. I think he's somebody that has definitely improved, and I think that he has a good chance to run it back next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at this, it was about four to five top 5 finishes in PPR. So it does make sense that look, I'm a Lions fan, and I'm not ashamed of saying it. And so I like to hype him up whenever I can. So Coley, I got to ask you, are we swapping out your guy Anthony Richardson, putting Jared Goff right there?
No, but I have to say that you saying I'm a Lions fan while having the widest grin on your face that I've ever seen you ever have. I think we could have guessed that on its own. But
Yep.
yeah, listen, it's like Johnny said. I think Johnny put it very well that it's not a slight to have Jared Goff outside this top 12, and I think it's the right call. We have worries about Jared Goff's home road splits, and those are tough. Those are really, really tough. He had 10 more touchdowns at home than he did on the road this year, and this is a banner year for him. This is a lot kinder of his home road splits than he's had in years past. So there's nothing wrong with that. You can predict it a little bit easier that way. That helps for fantasy. And like Johnny said, you can get him late in drafts. He's pretty much a known product. We know he's not going to be a top 5 quarterback, really, not top 3. He's not going to provide you anything on the ground, but I like these names ahead of him. I think Anthony Richardson has showed a lot of good things over the first 5 games of the season, and I love what Shane Steichen's doing in Indianapolis. I have all the faith there. Really, the big name to me that stood out was Kyler Murray, and I'm pleasantly surprised to see him this high of somebody that the market is really down on, and someone I'm really trying to buy this offseason of Kyler Murray because he's someone that does have that sky high upside with his rushing ability. He'll be a year removed from the injury when next season. We'll see who he's throwing to. We saw Trey McBride really take a step up over the back half of this season. Marquise Brown is a free agent. I expect him to come back, but we don't know. So there's a lot of question marks with someone like Kyler Murray. But, if I was seeing someone that would drop out, I would have expected Kyler Murray to do so, maybe a Dak Prescott. But, yeah, I like seeing him here. I think it's the right call to have Jared Goff out, and I like seeing Kyler Murray in, as well as Anthony Richardson.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so before we transition over to the next 12 players, let me just take a second to talk about the Fantasy Football Expo that tickets just went on sale. This is August 9th through 11th in Canton, Ohio. And, if you get tickets and you come, you get a chance to see us. We will be there. We have a booth as well as we're part of the Draft Night Out, and we're in the Kings Classic Dick Butkus division with IDP and everything. So get a chance, get a ticket, come to Canton, come see us, and you can see me talk directly to Michael about why Jared Goff should be in the top 12 over Anthony Richardson.
Not a good selling point. It's not a good selling point.
In person, but it's an amazing time. Mike, I know you've been there. Johnny, you're thinking about it. Mike, what was your experience like when you first came?
No, it's amazing because I think often, and we have all this, we have plenty of drama on our Twitter circles and all that and so forth. But really, when you bring everyone together in one place, and anytime you do this with anything, but you do it with one passion, one thing that everyone loves, and that's fantasy football, and you bring it together, and it's really a very fun experience. It's not just a learning curve. It's not just you're learning things about the industry. You have a blast, and with the Hall of Fame right around the corner, that is quite the sweetener to have in Canton. So highly recommend to everybody. Went to it 2 years ago, hoping to be back this year. It's a blast.
Yeah, absolutely. Johnny, you thinking of coming? You going to get your ticket?
Yeah, man, I got a question for you. I mean, do they, you mentioned you get to go on the field there at Canton. I mean, is there any skill game? I was a kicker in high school. I had a 39 yarder back in 2011 versus West Mifflin there. I mean, is there a chance to kick some field goals at this thing? Do they have a little punt, pass, and kick event?
So they have a flag football tournament that goes on, and then you're on the field. You bring a football, and you get a long snapper and a holder. You kick all the field goals you want on the other side of the field. There's an awesome Saturday night party that is in that stadium, right in the end zone area. So the week before, you're watching on TV. Whoever's going to be in that Hall of Fame game, and then the next week you're in Canton and you're on the field playing flag football. There's a beer pong tournament, which put on my trophy smack that I have this lovely belt for that I got at last year's expo. So it's an awesome event. You will absolutely love being on the field, being able to play and yeah, kick some field goals, man. Let's see how far you can get it, boot it out there. So
Maybe get like a
uh
Gronk over under, challenge.
yeah, there you go. And they're gonna this year, it's new. They're gonna have a sports betting Saturday. So Underdog is going to be sponsoring that. There's going to be a bunch of panels talking about different types of sports betting, and then booths, exhibitors for the content creators and websites and vendors for sports betting as well as fantasy football. But go to thefantasyfootballexpo.com, get your ticket. You can get a VIP weekend ticket for $75. Get that now. It's going to go up in price as we get closer to the event in August. So with that, let's switch over to the quarterback two conversation. And for those on audio, let me read this off. At number 13, we have Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Fields, Kirk Cousins, Bryce Young, Matthew Stafford, Jared Goff, Deshaun Watson, Geno Smith, Will Levis, Baker Mayfield, and Derek Carr. And for this round, I'm going to go to Johnny first, and I'm going to ask you, Baker Mayfield finished top 10 this year, but is at number 23. If he stays in Tampa, what needs to happen for him to remain a QB1 going into next year?
Wow. So with Baker Mayfield, I mean, he has the traits himself to be that quarterback. He's not afraid to throw the ball. He throws the ball downfield well. He has right now he has Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, and hopefully at least they bring one of those guys back. That I think that played a big part into it. We've seen him at Carolina wasn't so good about him in that regard here. So for me, I do like Baker Mayfield a lot. I think he can definitely repeat that, and I'd like to see things just stay status quo for him. As much as they can be. Hopefully, they don't do a lot of shuffling around in Tampa Bay. But I like Baker Mayfield a lot to make the jump, and I think that he can have another great year in another year of comfortability, knowing the system, knowing the guys around him. So I think Baker Mayfield's a guy that wasn't coming into this year on the list at 23, but man, he made improvements, and I think he's not done yet.
Yeah, no, definitely. Michael, it sounds like this question pained you a little bit, and you might have kicked
No.
a table.
That was my phone falling off my lap and hitting the metal frame of the desk. I apologize for interrupting a very good point by Johnny. But yeah, Baker Mayfield, I don't quite understand having him this low personally because I am quite a fan, but there are concerns, right? I love Baker Mayfield. I'd have him a little bit higher. But not only do you have the Mike Evans question of does he come back, free agent, last chance to get a ring? Does he think it happens in Tampa Bay? I mean, he has a ring, but does he want another one? Does he leave Tampa for it? I can't imagine him in another jersey, but we'll have to see. And then the bigger question to me personally is Dave Canales is gone. The offensive coordinator that had helped Baker Mayfield have this big season, he's now the head coach in Carolina. So you have question marks of can Baker Mayfield do it again with a new coordinator, potentially no Mike Evans? You have those concerns. And while I'm a believer in Baker Mayfield succeeding despite a myriad of this is going to be his seventh NFL season with his seventh new offensive coordinator, I believe. So he's done it before. He's been in this situation, and Tampa's clearly a good fit with him as a organization and a fan base. But we do have those concerns. So you put some more thought into it. It makes more sense why he's lower. Having him below Will Levis personally is not a choice I will ever make. But that's me. That's moi. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. I'm a big Baker fan outside of what was it, the divisional championship game this year, but happy for him making that bounce back. Kind of flipping to the other side of the coin, and Sicoli, this is a division rival for you. But with the terrible year that Deshaun Watson had, do you have any confidence drafting him at all in 2024?
Oh, I have had zero share of Deshaun Watson, partially on principle and then partially just because I've hoped it would fail. And it has. It is failing. So I was off to begin with, and it's one of those things that I'm going to use my confirmation bias to confirm that I am still continuing to be off on Deshaun Watson because Joe Flacco did what Deshaun Watson couldn't. And that's not good. It's so remarkable that Joe Flacco was able to do it that he won comeback player of the year over someone who literally died on a football field. And that's something that Deshaun Watson couldn't do. So I'm willing to be wrong about Deshaun Watson if he has a good season at some point, good for him. But this is very much a do it or not, situation. If he doesn't do it this season, the Browns are going to do whatever they can to get out of this situation. Now, they gave him a fully guaranteed deal. That's going to be difficult, but this is it. This is prove it for Deshaun Watson. And I'm not willing to bet that he becomes the outlier of what he's shown in the last year.
Yeah,
2 years.
absolutely. And the Browns have looked good despite that. Johnny, what are your thoughts on Watson? And can the Browns piece it together and make a solid run and do make it to the Super Bowl?
I think they're definitely a contender. I think that the team overall, the fact that their defense is number one in the league, that helps. That goes a long way for Deshaun Watson. No credit to him on that regard, but I did like him in Houston. But ever since he went to Cleveland, I didn't like the big contract he was given. I thought maybe he would be better off for his stats, his career wise, to stay in Houston. But he did get paid. He went to Cleveland. That's the route he chose. I didn't like it. I'm on board with Mike there. I'll be willing to die and not have him. If he proves me wrong, so be it. I think there is a little bit of upside. He is somebody who can scramble. And that tends to pay off well in the NFL nowadays. But yeah, I mean, I don't really look at it and say down there. I don't like Watson with Njoku. I don't think he's great for him. I don't think he's great for Amari Cooper. Joe Flacco, he's kind of like that Baker Mayfield, not afraid to throw the ball, not afraid to make a mistake. And Deshaun Watson, quite frankly, kind of makes his own mistakes. He's not a very ball secure guy. Does a lot of risky things. A lot of running scrambles where he makes 1 yard gains. Doesn't really make things happen like a Patrick Mahomes. So yeah, I'm not on board with Deshaun Watson. I do see potential there, and that's probably why he's at 20. But overall, I'm not a big fan.
Gotcha. One other young guy that's seems to be a little controversial, and Johnny, I'm coming back to you with this one, is Bryce Young. He didn't have the greatest season this year, but there's a lot of people saying, just give him a little bit of time. And I mean, quarterbacks do need to develop. What do you think about Bryce Young? How he handled this year and what the future could hold?
I mean, he was under pressure a lot, took a lot of sacks. He's not really a big quarterback. So, I mean, he's a tough guy. I'll give him that for how much he was pressured and, what his frame is. So I do think there are better days ahead for Bryce Young. Hopefully they do things in the offseason to give him more of a supporting cast. They're in a deep rebuild there in Carolina. So bad time for him. Maybe if he was on a different team, things would look different. We'd have him higher on this list. But I don't know. To me, if it's Dynasty and you're looking for a young quarterback who, maybe finds his way in the NFL, this is your guy. But it could be a buy low situation. He's still young. He was supposed to be. A lot of people liked him more than what's his name, and C.J. Stroud. Coming into the year. So I don't like him personally. I think it's going to have to be let's see what happens around him first. They need a guy like DJ Moore, even though they gave DJ Moore away. They need somebody, I think, to be a home run hitter for Bryce Young, and I don't think they have that right now. And until they do, I'm not willing to invest in it. And it's also, as much as it's a good prospect, you have a bad team. How long is that leash? Are they going to go around 1 or 2 more bad years and that's it? Are they going to rebuild again? So there's nothing guaranteed to me with Bryce Young. He is a risk. He has a lot of red flags, but for Dynasty, if he can turn that around, it's a good value here.
Yeah, and flipping over to you, Michael. So on one hand, you got Bryce Young, super young, just drafted and playing right away, and then you've got at number 13, Jordan Love gets drafted, sits behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple years, and then kind of puts it together this year. Give me your thoughts. Like, is 13 the right place for him? Should he be higher or lower?
When we flipped to this page, there's a few names that stood out to me, and Jordan Love is one of those names. This is a tier 1 quarterback to me. This is not just a tier 1 quarterback. This is a top 8 fantasy quarterback for me, and I have no reservations about it. He looked so good this year, and that not only continued into the back half of the year, he got better as it went on. We had 6 3+ touchdown games through the air. That is top of the line fantasy production. And truthfully, the yards weren't there. The yards were quite poor relative to the touchdowns he threw. If we're going to expect one of those to bounce back, I do think he's going to get more opportunities to throw downfield. He was open. The offense opened up as the year went on. They didn't have Aaron Jones. That definitely hurt in the middle stretch. And I am so sold on Jordan Love. I think he's a fantastic quarterback. I think he's exactly what Green Bay needs. And when we look at this offseason, he's entering a contract year. He is not going to play on a contract year because they're going to pay him so much money this offseason. And that only helps. That only helps the dynasty value of getting that extension, getting that long-term leash, because he certainly earned it this year. So I am very sold on Jordan Love. I think he's going to be a great quarterback for years to come. I'm sorry to your Lions because you got another great one in Green Bay, but that's someone that you're going to have to deal with because he's a touchdown machine. And that's what Matt LaFleur likes to run in this offense. We've seen him throw in the red zone plenty, and Jordan Love proves that he's capable of doing so.
Yeah, according to the IDP guys' weekly fantasy finishes, Jordan Love ended the season as number 5 QB in PPR and had 4 top 5 finishes this season. 2 of them coming in the last 2 weeks of the year. But yeah, he put it together, and in division, I really was hoping they wouldn't find their quarterback, but they did. So
and yet
moving on,
only one 300-yard game as well. I'm saying there's so much growth still possible for Jordan Love based on what we've seen this year. I'm very excited to see what happens. I know you're not, but I am.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Getting to our last 12 players, and we're starting at number 25. Aaron Rodgers, Daniel Jones, Kenny Pickett, Russell Wilson, Sam Howell, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jake Browning, Aiden O'Connell, Hendon Hooker, Trey Lance, Joe Flacco, and Jacoby Brissett. This one is going to Johnny first here. And, recent news says the Raiders are considering being aggressive for a new quarterback. What does that mean for Aiden O'Connell and Jimmy G? Do you see a place where they can go, or is this kind of like the end of the road for them?
I think Jimmy Garoppolo can go somewhere for maybe a 1 or 2 year if a team's looking for a filler. I don't think that he really did, too bad. When I watched him and he was benched, he wasn't playing well, but at the same time, it was a new quarterback, new situation, bad all around situation. So I think he really took the brunt of that. How bad it was over in Vegas. I think that he can go somewhere, and he's young enough. He's at least a good backup. Maybe if you pair him with somebody like a Bryce Young or somebody who's kind of unproven, like maybe in Washington, if they don't up a quarterback, put him behind Sam Howell, in emergency. I think that would be a good situation for him. What you have. He's a proven backup, and I think that he's not a great starter, but he's a capable starter. So I think that he definitely should be signed somewhere. As far as Aiden O'Connell, I believe he was a rookie this year, maybe on another year or two of his contract. I don't know that he really gets that much attention. I don't think he really did too great, to warrant any attention outside of immediately right now outside of Vegas. So I think he probably gets brought back. He knows the system. It's a second year for him. He gets hopefully a little bit better. For Vegas' sake, I hope they're not starting the year with Aiden O'Connell, but at the same time, he's a young quarterback and he showed some good things. Maybe he can improve. And having Devontae Adams there, and also they have Jacoby Myers, that helps things out. A good tight end, I think. Michael Mayer makes a second year or third year leap, or second year leap. Yeah, so I like the prospects around the quarterback there in Vegas. I don't know if O'Connell is going to be the one to make that jump, but I think that definitely a backup for that team, and it's nice to see him get some reps early in his career. Maybe he plays it out and then goes somewhere else. But as of right now, no, I don't see him going anywhere outside of either the starter or the backup in Vegas.
Gotcha. What do you think, Macaulay? Oh my God, I'm sorry,
Oh, that works.
Michael Sicoli. I just cram those names together
No,
for
it's
you.
all good. I crushed your dreams with Jordan Love, so I deserve it.
Yeah. So Jimmy GQ, does he stay pretty somewhere else, or is it time for him to hit the couch?
Yeah, I mean he's a backup. That's what he is. Maybe he starts a couple games for a rookie before he gets hurt. But honestly, I think Johnny laid it out well with the second point, while kind of almost contradicting on the first one, just because you laid out some good options in Vegas, and I Jimmy Garoppolo should have succeeded in Vegas. McDaniels is the only coordinator he's worked under that actually really utilized him well outside of Kyle Shanahan. Uses everyone well. You got Michael Mayer, who's, like you said, is going to be a good player. Devontae Adams is still great. Jacoby Myers is there. Jimmy Garoppolo had every chance to succeed. He just was terrible through 5 games, in my opinion. But yeah, I don't know what Vegas is going to do. And that's really, I think it's the most interesting team in the NFL this offseason, because we have a new coach. We have unknown coaching staff still, because Cliff Kingsbury turned down that team. They could totally go into a rebuild. They've given Antonio Pierce a long leash, or they can go after a Kirk Cousins in free agency and try to really spark this up and win with Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, and see what they can do and build on the success of the back half of 2023. But I don't know, because they can also tear it down and go for a top 5 pick next year by playing Aiden O'Connell another season. I liked O'Connell as a prospect. He didn't wow me in his rookie year. I think he got better at sometimes, and he looked worse at sometimes, is what you expect. But I truthfully, I think Vegas is one of those teams I'm watching so closely to see what they do this offseason, because there's so many different directions they can take this team into.
Yep, absolutely. So, we've got a lot of questions, a lot of answers that are going to come out over the next few weeks. So we will definitely be touching on these topics of tiers, after free agency, after the draft, and looking at where, this shifts around over the coming months, and check back in to see, what we think from a dynasty perspective. Things have changed, and then, maybe we'll talk some redraft as well this summer. I really want to thank you guys for coming on and talking through quarterback tiers with me. Next week we're going to be talking about linebacker tiers, so make sure you subscribe to the IDP Plus network on YouTube. We have a ton of great shows between the IDP Plus podcast, the IDP Plus Trends show that Johnny just kicked off with Gary. We've got the rankings show back. We've got a new mailbag show, so you can email your questions and complaints to mailbag@idpguys.org. And just make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell so that you get notified whenever a new show comes out. We've got a ton of great shorts as well. But with that, I really want to thank you guys real quick. We'll start with you, Michael, as the first time guest, where people can find you, what content you're putting out.
Yeah, again, people can follow me at Michael__Scully on Twitter. But I really, I've been trying to put as much of my actual IDP content out on at IDP Guys on our Twitter page. So be sure to follow at IDP Guys. That's really where the best of the best is going to go, and eventually, maybe soon, changing that handle. So stay tuned for all that. And again, that's why you should subscribe to the YouTube channel and check out those updates that we continually put out through these videos. And just keep on doing that. And the link in the in our social as a team in those social bios gives links to plenty of other sites that you can check out, or not sites, but links that you could check out for pages within our own content. And another reason to subscribe, our Discord. It's considered a 24/7 helpline for all things fantasy, which is really great during the off season with Dynasty. So be sure to subscribe. I hope to see you there in the chat.
Awesome. Johnny, what about you? Where can everyone find you?
So you can find me on Twitter at JohnnyFreakInF1. I do a lot of, right now it's the off season, I do a lot of retweets of what the IDP Plus team is doing in the off season. So I'm sharing a lot of information from the other guys on the team. Right, with the IDP tipster Gary, we're doing the IDP trends, breaking down free agent prospects, where they might land, what that means for fantasy, and especially looking at it from a Dynasty IDP perspective. So I'm doing that show, and I'm also, I've been on the IDP Plus podcast here, breaking down these Dynasty rankings over the offseason. So I'm looking forward to moving into our next show, which is, I believe, linebackers. So yeah, you can continue to find me on the IDP Plus podcast and IDP Plus trends, and looking to make more of a splash this upcoming offseason and into next year. So hopefully you see me more, and yeah, like my page, give me some followers, some tweets, and I'll return the favor. So thanks for having me on, and blessed to be on here with Nate and Mike. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Really happy to have you guys. You can find me on Twitter at Nate Cheat. Generally, I post about some other stuff, more along the lines of Detroit Lions, any websites that I'm building, content creating stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, please give me a follow, and make sure and check back next week for the linebacker tiers. With that, see you guys.
Thank you for watching this IDP Guys video. If you like this content and you want more fantasy football content, click here. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos to help you master your IDP league, click here to subscribe.